Congresswoman Lee.
Well, let me first thank all of you for being here, all of our witnesses. You're truly great patriots. And there are some who may try to question the reliability of your testimony. We've received some communication from some who, you know, in many ways would do that. But these members don't. We appreciate your courage, and we appreciate your moving forward to try to make sure that we do end this occupation of Iraq. And this is a moment, and again, I have to say that I'm pleased that the press is here, because your voices have really not been heard during this entire war and occupation. And this is, I think, a very historic moment for the country and for the world. I have to go back to what Congressman Payne said, just in terms of history. When this unfortunate authorization to use force came before us, we tried and to provide an alternative resolution. Some of you may remember there were 72 votes on a resolution that I offered that just said basically, let the United Nations continue with the inspections process. That would have determined that there were no weapons of mass destruction. We knew that. 72 votes. 4,000 of our young men and women have died. 30,000 plus have been injured. Countless Iraqi civilians. That could have been prevented. I want to and you all have so eloquently described, and I know it's been very painful for you. It's been very painful for us here. It's been very sad, it's sorrowful, and it's difficult. As you described, the dehumanization process that you were put through and the effects of this dehumanization process. And now, and we've been told that, of course, this has been about winning the hearts and minds of the Iraqis. The hearts and minds of the Iraqis by doing what you were instructed to do. So I must ask you a couple of things with regard to our own national security. Given what has taken place, what do you think about how safe America is now versus before, first of all? Secondly, I know over 60% of the American people, very recently in fact, still believe that there was a connection between al-Qaeda and 9/11 and Saddam Hussein and Iraq. I don't know how you feel, what you believe, what was told in terms of the military, how, you know, the perception from your point of view. So I'd like to hear your response to that. And finally, I would just like to say to you that I hope you will continue to come to Capitol Hill, continue to be here, continue to talk to your members of Congress. We should have had the entire Democratic and Republican caucus here today, coming in and out, at least, given, you know, what's taking place on the floor. But every member should have come here if they really want to hear the truth. And so I hope and encourage you to continue with your efforts, because it's going to be, you know, your voices, the real voices, those who have served, those who have paid oftentimes the supreme price, you know, to end this with us. And certainly these members will continue and forge forward. And I hope today that we'll have a strong vote against this funding. I hope that we can show you that this Congress is moving forward, even though we may not get all of the votes we need. But I just hope and I pray, and I'm going to continue to work to make sure that we get the strongest vote that we can against the continuation of this funding of this occupation. Thank you, and I'd like to yield now to any of you who would like to answer
if I may,
a couple of questions.
Quickie.
Having been to Afghanistan and having had to search for al-Qaeda, Taliban, and Osama bin Laden, I would say that we might as well start searching Guam or Puerto Rico, someplace small, because let me tell you, Afghanistan is one really vast place. Now, jumping to Iraq, every time the Iraqi military comes into contact with a hostile force, when they kill them, it is written up on most blogs as they're killing militants. Every time an American force operates in and around the area of Iraq and they meet with resistance, they are actually taking out al-Qaeda or insurgents. And I think that we need to clarify exactly what we're killing over there exactly. As far as the national security of here in America, we are at no greater risk now today from our own government than ever before.
Yeah, I could concur with that. I believe in the national intelligence estimate that says that between 5 and 10 years from now, an American city will go bye-bye. And I'm not a doomsday person. I would also offer one recommendation, and that is that because I had the unusual circumstance of escorting a number of congressional delegations to Iraq around various parts of Iraq. And I, for one, would be willing to participate in a congressional delegation going to Iraq and not getting the Disneyland tour that the general officers put you through, showing you the joint security stations and all the things that they think are going well. I'm prepared to take you and a number of others, and others are prepared to take you on the real situation, on the real having patrolled the mean streets of Iraq for a couple of years, to take you on a real tour of what Iraq is.
I can only testify from my experience that it is clear we have made more enemies. But it should be clear to all Americans that the greatest threat to American security is the current corruption of our government.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman Lee, for being part of this. Thank you, Congresswoman Waters, for it takes 3 strong women and we can get a lot done. Thank all of my colleagues who came today. Yes, there should have been more, but those who came cared, and that doesn't mean those many who weren't here don't care, believe me. We were down on the floor for the votes, and there was a lot of reasons why people, I started to say excuses, reasons why our colleagues weren't here, but we told them they were really missing something important. And we will make sure that we have your written testimony available so our colleagues can get the benefit if they choose. In listening to your testimony this morning, I have been particularly struck that while each and every one of you brings a unique and very personal perspective to this occupation of Iraq, there's been one consistent thread, and you've said it in different ways, but you've all said it, and that's despite the valor and the sacrifice of your troops and our troops, almost every level that we're involved in, every level of President Bush's strategy in Iraq has failed, and it continues to fail. The President is failing our military forces who are serving in Iraq, the men and women who have been given the impossible task of policing a civil war that has absolutely no end in sight. And for 5 years, they've all risked, you and those who are there now have risked their lives day in and day out without a clear mission or even definable goals. And while the President continues to move the goalposts on success in Iraq, our soldiers have done every single possible thing that's been asked of them, and they've done it with honor. The President is failing the Iraqi public as well, who for 5 years of this invasion continue to struggle to not only put food on their tables, but in many cases simply to stay alive among the violence and the chaos that continues to engulf their country. Our country, the United States of America, must stand ready to aid the Iraqis with non-military support to help them undertake the reconciliation process, to help them with their refugees, and to bring all sides together. And perhaps most importantly, President Bush is failing every man and woman who has worn our nation's uniform in Iraq only to come home to a broken and underfunded VA healthcare system. All of you bear the irreparable mental and physical wounds of war, and once home, you must struggle to receive the physical and psychological care that you have earned, that was promised you. That is a disgrace. Our nation is better than that, and we must do better. I know that it wasn't easy for each of you to testify today, but while I've been listening to you, I've also been looking at the audience behind you. You cannot believe the people behind you have your backs. The looks on your faces back there, it's indescribable. I thank you all for being here. I thank you for your testimony and the support behind. Thank you, and we're not through. We're going to do more. Thank you very much.